The 10 greatest movies of all time. I put my all into this video, so don't forget to subscribe and watch until the end. Number 10, Parasite. The financial and cultural journey of Parasite 2019 is a landmark success story that completely redefined the global film industry's potential. Produced by director Bong Joon-ho on a strategic budget of approximately $11.4 million, the film managed to generate a staggering $263.6 million at the worldwide box office, representing a profit margin of over 2,200%. Its release timeline was a masterclass in building momentum. It first premiered in May 2019 at the Cannes Film Festival, where it won the prestigious Palme d'Or, before rolling out to South Korean theaters that summer and eventually hitting North American cinemas in October 2019. The film's financial trajectory reached a historic peak in February 2020 when it shattered expectations by winning 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, the first time a non-English language film ever took home the top prize. This Oscar effect triggered a massive second wave of revenue, as theaters worldwide re-screened the movie and audiences flocked to see the masterpiece that had broken the 1-inch barrier of subtitles. Beyond the ticket sales, the film's success was driven by its universal themes of class struggle, which resonated across 202 different countries where distribution rights were sold. Domestically in South Korea, it pulled in over $72 million, while the United States market contributed an impressive $53 million, making it one of the highest-grossing foreign-language films in American history. By the time the film transitioned to streaming and digital sales, it had established itself not just as a financial powerhouse, but as a cultural turning point that proved international cinema could compete with, and outperform, major Hollywood blockbusters on every level.
Number 9, Seven Samurai.
Seven Samurai, 1954, directed by the legendary Akira Kurosawa, is a monumental achievement in film history that established the blueprint for the modern action genre while becoming one of Japan's most successful exports. Produced by Toho Studios on a budget of approximately 125 million yen, roughly $500,000 at the time, it was the most expensive Japanese film ever made up to that point, nearly bankrupting the studio during its troubled production. However, when it premiered in Japan in April 1954, it became an immediate commercial smash, grossing over 268 million yen in its initial run. Its global financial story is even more impressive. After being edited and released internationally in 1956, it earned millions more across the globe and became a staple of international cinema. While exact lifetime global box office figures from the 1950s are difficult to aggregate, the film's massive profitability is evidenced by its constant theatrical re-releases and its influence on Hollywood hits like The Magnificent Seven and Star Wars. The release timeline of Seven Samurai is a story of perseverance, as Kurosawa faced constant pressure from studio executives to shut down production due to the ballooning costs and the film's nearly 4-hour runtime. Despite these hurdles, the film's premiere was met with critical acclaim that only grew as it moved into the Western market, eventually earning 2 Academy Award nominations in 1957. Its financial longevity has been extraordinary, because it is universally regarded as one of the greatest films ever made. It has generated consistent revenue for decades through high-end restorations, the Criterion Collection, and digital streaming platforms. For a content creator, the story of Seven Samurai is a masterclass in how taking a massive financial and creative risk on a high-quality, epic-scale vision can lead to a legacy that generates both prestige and profit for over 70 years.
Number 8.
Pulp Fiction, 1994, is widely considered the ultimate success story for independent cinema, proving that a film could be both an edgy, artistic experiment and a massive box office hit. Produced by Miramax for a relatively low budget of only $8 million, with a significant portion of that going to the salaries of stars like John Travolta and Bruce Willis, the film became a global sensation, grossing over $213 million worldwide. This incredible return on investment helped launch Quentin Tarantino into superstardom and completely changed the way Hollywood viewed independent projects. The film's journey began in May 1994 at the Cannes Film Festival, where it won the prestigious Palme d'Or, creating a massive wave of hype before its general release in October 1994. It debuted at number 1 at the US box office, a rare feat for an R-rated indie film at the time, and eventually earned 7 Academy Award nominations, winning for Best Original Screenplay in 1995. The financial success of Pulp Fiction was driven by its unique nonlinear storytelling and sharp, pop culture-heavy dialogue, which made it a must-see event that audiences returned to watch multiple times. In the United States alone, it earned nearly $108 million, making it the first independent film to ever cross the $100 million mark. Its release timeline was perfectly orchestrated to build cool factor and critical acclaim, turning a risky, violent, and unconventional script into a cultural juggernaut. Even decades later, the film continues to generate millions through home media, streaming rights, and merchandise, maintaining its status as one of the most profitable and influential movies ever made. For a digital creator, the story of Pulp Fiction is a perfect example of how a unique creative voice can break the traditional, blockbuster mold and achieve massive commercial success through sheer originality.
Number 7.
12 Angry Men 1957 is a fascinating financial case study because it proves that a film doesn't need a massive budget or multiple locations to become a global powerhouse. Produced on a lean budget of just $340,000, the film was a passion project for lead actor Henry Fonda, who also served as a producer. When it premiered in April 1957, it initially struggled at the box office because audiences at the time were gravitating toward large-scale, colorful epics rather than a black and white drama set entirely in a single room. However, the film's release timeline turned into a slow burn success story. After receiving 3 Academy Award nominations in 1958, including Best Picture, it gained a second life in international markets and through television broadcasts. While its original theatrical run was modest, its lifetime earnings and value have grown exponentially, as it is now one of the most licensed films in history for educational and legal training purposes. The financial brilliance of 12 Angry Men lies in its incredible efficiency. It was filmed in just 21 days, which kept overhead costs extremely low and ensured that almost every dollar earned was pure profit. Because the script is so tight and the tension is so high, the film has maintained a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which has translated into decades of consistent revenue from DVD sales, Blu-ray restorations, and digital streaming rights. In the United States and Europe, it is considered a permanent classic, and its evergreen status means it continues to generate royalties long after the original creators have passed away. For a content creator, this film is a perfect example of how a high-quality script and a focused vision can create a long-tail financial asset that remains profitable and relevant for nearly 70 years, proving that intellectual property is often more valuable than raw spectacle.
Number 6.
A Space Odyssey 1968 is not just a masterpiece of science fiction, it is one of the most remarkable financial gambles in Hollywood history that eventually paid off as a timeless asset. Directed by Stanley Kubrick with an initial budget of roughly $10.5 million, an enormous sum for the late 1960s, the film was a massive technical undertaking that pushed the boundaries of visual effects long before the era of computer-generated imagery. When it first premiered in April 1968, early reactions were actually quite polarized, with some critics confused by its abstract narrative and slow pacing. However, as the film's psychedelic ending became a cultural phenomenon among younger audiences, it gained incredible momentum, eventually grossing over $60 million during its original theatrical run. This initial success was only the beginning, as numerous re-releases over the decades have pushed its total lifetime box office earnings toward the $190 million mark. The film's release timeline was carefully managed to build its prestige, starting with a high-profile Cinerama Roadshow release in major cities before expanding to general audiences throughout 1968. Its financial longevity is deeply tied to its technical perfection, because Kubrick insisted on using practical models and groundbreaking filming techniques. The movie has never aged poorly, allowing MGM to consistently generate revenue from home media, high-definition remasters, and theatrical anniversaries. From a business perspective, the film turned a high-risk investment into a permanent gold mine, as it remains the gold standard for sci-fi cinema. By winning the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects in 1969, it secured its place as a commercial and critical juggernaut, proving that visionary art could sustain profitability for over half a century. Today, it stands as a testament to how a difficult, or confusing story can become a massive financial success through sheer technical excellence and cultural impact.
Number 5.
Schindler's List 1993 is a profound example of how a deeply serious, historical drama can become both a cultural landmark and a massive commercial success. Directed by Steven Spielberg, who was already a blockbuster titan, the film was produced on a budget of $22 million, a relatively modest sum considering its 3-hour length and epic scope. Spielberg famously refused to take a salary for the film, calling it blood money, and instead funneled his share of the profits into the Shoah Foundation. When it premiered in December 1993, the film defied the industry expectation that a black and white Holocaust drama would have limited appeal, instead grossing a staggering $322 million worldwide. This means the film earned nearly 15 times its production cost, proving that audiences were hungry for substantial, emotionally challenging stories. The release timeline was expertly managed to build critical momentum, leading to a dominant performance at the 1994 Academy Awards where it won 7 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Director. This Oscar sweep triggered a massive international expansion, where it pulled in $226 million from overseas markets alone, while the United States market contributed another $96 million. The film's financial legacy is bolstered by its educational longevity. Because it is considered an essential historical document, it has been re-released in theaters for major anniversaries and is a staple in digital libraries and educational institutions globally. For a digital creator, the story of Schindler's List is a powerful lesson in brand pivot, showing how a creator known for entertainment, like Jurassic Park, which Spielberg released the same year, can use their influence to produce a prestigious, high-impact project that achieves both immense profit and historical importance.
Number 4.
The Dark Knight 2008 is the ultimate example of how a superhero film can transcend its genre to become a historic commercial and critical juggernaut. Directed by Christopher Nolan with a massive production budget of $185 million, the film was a high-stakes gamble for Warner Bros., but it paid off spectacularly by grossing over $1.006 billion at the worldwide box office. Its journey began with one of the most brilliant viral marketing campaigns in history, which built immense anticipation before its premiere in July 2008. The film shattered records immediately, earning $158 million in its opening weekend alone, the biggest debut at that time. Much of its financial and cultural momentum was driven by the legendary performance of Heath Ledger as the Joker. His tragic passing months before the release created a somber but massive surge in public interest, leading many to view the film as a tribute to his talent. The release timeline was a masterclass in blockbuster management, dominating the summer of 2008 and remaining in the top 10 at the box office for over 10 weeks. In early 2009, following its 8 Academy Award nominations and Heath Ledger's posthumous win for Best Supporting Actor, the film was re-released in theaters to push it past the elusive $1 billion mark, making it only the 4th film in history at the time to reach that milestone. In the United States, it pulled in a staggering $535 million, proving that a gritty, complex, and dark crime thriller could outperform traditional family-friendly blockbusters. For a YouTube creator, the story of The Dark Knight is a perfect case study on how combining top-tier hardware, it was the first major feature to use IMAX cameras, intense performances, and a perfectly timed release can turn a comic book movie into a billion-dollar cultural phenomenon.
Number 3.
Citizen Kane 1941 is arguably the most famous example of a film that failed at the box office upon its initial release only to become a multi-million-dollar asset through its long-term legacy. Directed by and starring a 25-year-old Orson Welles, the movie was produced by RKO Pictures for approximately $839,000, a significant budget at the time. Its release timeline in May 1941 was famously sabotaged by media mogul William Randolph Hearst, who was outraged by the film's similarities to his own life. Hearst banned any mention of the movie in his newspapers and pressured theaters not to show it, leading the film to lose about $160,000 during its original run. However, the financial story didn't end there. After being rediscovered by critics and audiences in the 1950s, the film's value skyrocketed as it was hailed as the greatest film ever made, leading to decades of profitable re-releases and licensing deals. The financial brilliance of Citizen Kane today lies in its evergreen status as an academic and historical staple. While it only earned 9 Academy Award nominations and 1 win Best Original Screenplay in 1942, its subsequent status as a masterpiece ensured that it became a cornerstone of every film library in the world. It has been restored and re-released dozens of times, including a massive 70th anniversary push that generated significant home media revenue. For a content creator, the story of Citizen Kane is a masterclass in the long game. It proves that even if a project is suppressed or financially unsuccessful at launch due to controversy, true technical innovation and storytelling quality can eventually turn it into a priceless cultural and commercial icon that generates revenue for nearly a century.
Number 2.
The Godfather 1972 is perhaps the greatest example of a blockbuster that balanced immense artistic prestige with record-breaking financial power. Produced by Paramount Pictures on a budget of roughly $6 million, the film was a massive risk at the time, as the studio was struggling and the mob movie genre was considered dead. However, when it premiered in March 1972, it became a cultural phenomenon unlike anything seen before, grossing a staggering $250 million to $290 million worldwide during its initial run. For a period of time, it held the title of the highest-grossing film ever made, dethroning Gone with the Wind. This incredible return meant the film earned nearly 40 times its production cost, instantly saving Paramount from financial ruin and solidifying Francis Ford Coppola's status as a visionary director. The release timeline of The Godfather was a masterclass in building hype. Despite facing threats from real-life organized crime figures during production, the film opened to packed theaters and unprecedented ticket demand. In 1973, it dominated the Academy Awards, winning Best Picture, Best Actor for Marlon Brando, and Best Adapted Screenplay, which further fueled its international box office success. Its financial legacy has only grown over the decades through its highly successful sequels and numerous high-definition restorations, including the Corleone Legacy box sets and 50th anniversary theatrical re-releases that brought in millions more. For a YouTube creator or media entrepreneur, the story of The Godfather is a perfect case study in overcoming production hell, an external pressure to create a high-value intellectual property that remains the gold standard for both cinematic quality and commercial dominance more than 50 years later.
Number 1 movie all of time.
The Shawshank Redemption 1994 is the ultimate, dark horse, story in cinema history, proving that a film's true financial value isn't always captured in its opening weekend. Produced by Castle Rock Entertainment on a budget of $25 million, the film was initially considered a box office flop when it premiered in September 1994. It faced heavy competition from blockbusters like Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump, and its title was considered confusing by audiences, leading to an initial domestic gross of only $16 million, not even enough to cover its production costs. However, the film's release timeline shifted from a tragedy to a triumph after it received 7 Academy Award nominations in 1995. This critical recognition gave it a second life in theaters, eventually pushing its total box office to $73 million, but its real financial explosion happened in the home media and television markets. The brilliance of the film's long-term profitability lies in its evergreen appeal. After the theatrical run, Warner Brothers took a gamble and shipped 320,000 VHS copies to rental stores, a massive number for a failed movie, and it quickly became the most rented film of 1995. This momentum led to a historic licensing deal with TNT, where the film was broadcast so frequently that it became a permanent fixture in the American cultural consciousness. Today, The Shawshank Redemption is a multi-million-dollar asset that generates consistent revenue through digital streaming, cable syndication, and high-definition re-releases. For a digital content creator, this film is a powerful lesson in the long-tail strategy. It proves that even if a project underperforms at launch, high-quality storytelling and emotional resonance can turn a failure into the #1 rated movie of all time, creating a legacy that pays dividends for decades.